Yes, Maharaj, you can start. Thank you.
Okay. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottama Devim Saraswatimi Vyasa Tato Jaya Moderate Naswapaye Swabhadrisu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhava Itinastiki. So, welcome everyone to this morning discussion on the glories of the Bhagavatam. Now, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Itinamani. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sanyavadi Pasatya Disatari. Bande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Godadhaya Puspavanto Chita Chandru Tamam. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadara Sri Vasari Sri Gaura Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Pancha Kalpatari Vyacha Kripasun Vyaya Vyacha Pavan Vyaya Vaishnava. So, like I was mentioning, that is glories of the Srimad Bhagavatam. They are embedded in a literature titled the Bhagavat Mahatmya. And this Bhagavat Mahatmya is encapsulated in the Uttarakhanda section of the Padma Purana, precisely in the Uttarakhanda, chapters 193 to 198. This is the section of this Bhagavad Mahatmya. So the Bhagavad Mahatmya, the content is basically is all about glorifications of the Lord. So in one place you find now I'm only discussing, having a discussion with Bhakti Devi personified. And I'm only questioning why you feeling sad, and who are these persons by your side? Bhakti Devi responds by saying, "Oh, look, these are my sons, Jnana and Vairagya." And so we understand the Bhagavatam categorically mentions that by rendering devotional service, one automatically gets jnana, knowledge, theoretical knowledge, and also realized knowledge. If that theoretical knowledge is applied in one's life, then one is able to attain or achieve some realizations. So the jnana is not just the conventional jnana of studying and being able to reproduce what you've studied, but also using that same knowledge system to create a transformation in the individual's personal life. And this is why this is the difference between the realized souls and the non-realized souls. The realized souls, they have applied the Vedic jnana, the knowledge of the Vedic literature, In other words, they've applied the theoretical models and the theoretical constructs, the theoretical concepts, and the models in their lives. And they have a lived experience of characterized by transformation, positive transformation. But this is the fundamental difference between a realized soul and a soul that is not realized. A soul that is not realized may have so much of information packed in their brain. But then the implementation is not there, and so they don't experience the change, the positive devotional change, the positive spiritual change that enhances that sustainable transformation. So Narada Muni, we know he is the best of Lord Brahma's sons. Lord Brahma stated that with his own mouth in his prayers, in his rendition of the Nrsimha Kavacha. Narada once had asked Brahma, how did Lord Indra became so powerful? How did he become so powerful? And he was able to conquer the demons. Demons are extremely powerful people. So how is that? What did he do? What's the source of his power? This is the inquiry of an intelligent person like Nada from his father. And when responding, Lord Brahma said, Suna Nada Bhakshami, my dear Nada, listen to me. Listen up, as the Americans would say, listen up. He started by saying, you're the best of my sons. So what you ask? Yes, I will tell you. See, when someone is pleased with you, it's very easy to respond to your queries in a very satisfactory way to please you, to satisfy your conscience. So Nada, when Nada asked Lord Brahma the secrets of Lord Indra in his conquest against the demons, Lord Brahma glorified Nada. You are a great soul. You are imbued, you're endowed with the wealth of devotion to the Supreme Personality of God. So Lord Brahma says, Putra stresses, Tapodana. He said, Putra stresses, you're the best of my sons. Oh, how are you the best of my sons? Why do I rate you in this way? You are an embodiment of dana, spiritual wealth. The opposite of spiritual wealth is spiritual bankruptcy. So Lord Brahma, he identified Narada as the best of his sons, not because Narada was the richest, but because of his dedication to Lord Vishnu or to Lord Krishna. So this same Narada was discussing with Bhakti Devi in this Bhagavad Mahatmya, and they were having this dialogue. And Bhakti Devi was telling Narada, see, you are just a great personality that you came to the rescue of even Srila Vyasadeva when he was despondent, he was confused, how he was not being happy even after having rendered a wonderful service with such a literary disposition. He had compiled the Vedas, and he was not happy. So Bhakti Devi says, see, you came to the rescue of Srila Vyasadeva. So Narada plays a very vital role in our devotional service. Narada Muni also was very close to Krishna. He comes to Dwarka, and he will not leave Dwarka. Traditionally, Narada wouldn't stay in one place because of the curse of Daksha. But in Dwarka, he will stay there because Because the curse of Daksha wouldn't affect him because of Krishna's protection. So I remember a text in the Bhagavatam that discusses this about another specific privilege of having to stay in Dwarka without having to run around and keep traveling. In the 11th canto, chapter 2, text 1 to 2, there is mentioned Govinda Bhuja, Guptayam, Dvaratyam, Kurudvaha, Awasinarado, Bikshnam, Krishna, Pasanalala Saha. And then text 1, in this very text, the translation is Sukadev Goswami said, he said to Maharaj Parikshit. Again, keep in mind that in this same Gita Mahatmya, we have a section, we have also the discussions of Sukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. Sukadev was there to relieve Parikshit Maharaj of all his anxieties by rendering the pastimes of Lord Krishna and his devotees to Parikshit in the form of the Bhagavatam. Parikshit was about to leave his body in 7 days. He was cursed to die by the son of a Brahmin. And could we say he was lucky or he was not? But in a sense, he was lucky. You know, 7 days he was going to die, so he has to prepare to die. Now, back to the point. Nada, in this text, it says, Sukadeva Goswami said, "Oh, best of the Kurus." He's addressing Parikshit, best of the Kurus, eager to engage in the worship of Krishna. Nada Muni stayed constantly in Dwarka, which was always protected by the arms of Govinda. In the commentaries of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in this text, he says in the 2nd chapter, Vasudeva asked Nada questions. In response to King Nimi's question, Kavi and Havi speak about Vaishnava principles. Nada stayed in Dwarka constantly by the influence of Krishna. The curse of Daksha could not influence Nada, and thus Nada could remain there, though he had been cursed by Daksha to constantly travel. So we see the power of Lord Krishna. If even someone is cursed, Krishna can protect the person. Because this is what Krishna precisely mentions in the Bhagavad Gita. Aname Bhakti Panashati, that he will always protect his devotees. So we see, even in the case of Nara, Krishna protected him. We find so many other instances in the Vedic literature where Krishna came to the rescue of his devotee when they were in danger. He came to protect them. We see the case of Gajendra. We also see the case of Draupadi when she was being derobed in the assembly and nobody came to her rescue. She struggled to protect herself and then later realized that she can't really protect herself. And so she resorted to taking shelter of Lord Krishna. She called out, Govinda, hey Govinda, save me. And immediately Krishna came to the rescue. Krishna is not a bluff. He says one thing, he follows this up. That's called integrity. That's called integrity. He says one thing, he follows this up. And there are so many situations, so many instances where Krishna came to the rescue of his devotees. So in the text 2 of this very chapter in the Srimad Bhagavatam, talking about how Nada, the same Nada, the best of Lord Brahma's sons, he stayed at Dwarka without without the effect, without the influence of Daksha's cause of, not being able to stay in one place for long, but constantly traveling. So in text 2 of this chapter 2, come to 11, it says, Konu Rajan Indriyavan Mukunda Chanam Bhojam Na Bajet Sarvatum Rityu Opasham Amarotamai. O king, who among the conditioned souls with senses, confronted by death at every step of life, will not serve Mukunda's lotus feet, who is worshipable even for the greatest devatas. And who are the greatest devatas? Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma. Sometimes even the children of Lord Brahma, some of the children of Lord Brahma, they get confused. Even Lord Brahma himself sometimes becomes bewildered about the supremacy of Lord Krishna. So all of these glorifications are embedded in the Bhagavatam. And by understanding, reading, reciting, hearing these wonderful glorifications of the Lord and his devotees, one becomes free from sinful reactions. And then devotional service to the Lord become very much fixated. So here in the purport, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur mentioned, who will not worship Krishna? Since the Lord binds even liberated persons to him with eagerness. Persons with senses, such as ears, are qualified to worship the Lord. Not only jivas worship the Lord, but even the best of devatas like Lord Shiva worship him. You see, whatever a great man does, the common man follows. Whatever standard he says or she says, the whole world will pursue. If a common man is engaged in worship of Lord Krishna, we may say, well, he has nothing to do with his life. So who cares? But no, here we find that people like Nada Muni, they are mad after Krishna. Lord Brahma takes shelter of Lord Krishna. Lord Shiva is an ardent worshipper of Lord Krishna. In fact, Lord Shiva is described as Vaishnava Vanam Yata Sambhu. He's the best of Lord Krishna's devotees. So let's understand what we are dealing with. Well, let's clearly have some insight about this personality, Lord Krishna, that we are dedicating our lives to, where he will lead us to. Because without clear understanding, we may have clouds of doubt in our minds. And if these doubts are not clarified through a dialogue, questions and answers, see, our system is very much dialogic. Dialogic in the sense that the speaker speaks, or the coordinator of the discussion says something, and the attendees or the audience are allowed to also voice their thoughts. It's not like, you come to the class and then you download all of the stuffs you have put up on your encephalon, and then you go away and then that's it. No, it's a dialogue. And so we find in the case of Arjuna and Krishna, they were discussing. Yeah, Krishna is the supreme, but they were discussing. Arjuna was clarifying his doubts. from Lord Krishna. And keep in mind, Arjuna was a generalissimo. I mean, like what we have in America, a four-star general is so regarded like a worshipable deity in the military. Arjuna is a generalissimo. And even the generalissimo, like Arjuna, he took shelter of Lord Krishna. So if we compare our status, social status, to that of these great personalities, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Nada, Arjuna, we are very insignificant. And so the question here is being asked, who is that person who will not worship Lord Krishna? And Lord Krishna is described also in the Bhagavatam as one who is praised with a transcendental poetry. He said the poets, they utilize their talents in serving the Lord, glorifying the Lord. And in this way, they become purified. And just following what Prabhupada regularly mentions, dovetailing our skills, our talents in the service of the Lord. That purifies the conditioned entity. And so the Bhagavatam and precisely what we're dealing with is the Bhagavad Mahatmya, or the glorifications of the Lord. Glories in the Bhagavatam, glorifications, we will say glorifications, the glories of the Bhagavatam, we're talking about the glorifications of Lord Krishna and his devotees, because the Bhagavatam is simply a display of the leelas of the Lord in the community of his devotees. And so we'll find that the intelligent people on this planet and elsewhere, they take to the worship of Lord Krishna. Even the devatas. Now, let's get this point clear. Lord Brahma has many children, many sons. And at one instance, one of the sons of Lord Brahma, he had visited Lord Brahma. And then he saw Lord Brahma chanting on Mala. So he was confused. He was confused, so he asked his father that we assume that you are the Supreme Lord, but now I see you chanting on Mala. Who is the object of worship? I thought you are the Supreme. So Lord Brahma responded that, yes, I am the Supreme Lord of this universe, but I'm a secondary creator. That is somebody who provides the elements of creation, and I'm just the engineer. I just put them together. In other words, there's someone who is responsible for the raw materials. Bhumi apa nala vayo kamano buddhi ahankar. So there's someone who is making these provisions. Lord Brahma did not claim proprietary over the elements of creation. He clearly explained to his son that he is the engineer of this universe. He is not the ultimate creator. So again, question and answers. Someone is in doubt, and he asks the person in authority, the person who was speaking, about clarification. Or someone is in doubt, the child is in doubt. He asks questions from their father about, or their mother, for the ambiguities to be doused, to be clarified. This is the whole process of Krishna consciousness. It's about clarifying our ambiguities, clarifying our doubts from someone who is in a position to be able to do that. So, right? In the Bhagavad Mahatmya, these these very conceptions and deliberations, they are embedded there because we have this discussion between Sunaka Rishi, the sages in the Sunaka Rishi and Sutta Goswami. Sunaka Rishi is asking Sutta to explain to them in this very period. This very period is so nothing is really sure. What is it? What is it that is prescribed? What is the best thing to do in this very period? So it was a concern not only for ordinary people, but even for the great sages. That was a gathering of sages in Namisarine, not ordinary people on the street. They wanted to know how to move forward. What is the way ahead? What is the green light in spiritual cultivation in this very dispensation? And then Sutta Goswami was responding to their questions. Again, find someone to respond to questions, clarifying the doubts of the inquirers, of the audience, of the attendees in the assembly. So this is our process. It's a process of doubts, ambiguity, clarification from someone who is in a position to do that. And the whole situation is centered on Krishna, Krishna and his devotees. In fact, elsewhere in Bhagavatam, Brahma says, echoes this teaching, these very verses here. Now he says, in his words, he says, who is that person who will not worship Lord Krishna? In fact, the demigods headed by Lord Brahma. They say, who is that person who will not worship Lord Krishna? Except for a butcher, an animal killer is killing his own soul. Except for that person who is so much entangled in sinful activities and sinful reactions. That is the person who will not worship the Lord. Any sane person will advocate the worship of the Lord, and any sane person will worship the Lord. So this is identified by even the greatest demigods like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva mentions that of all worships, the worship of Vishnu is the highest, and higher than the worship of Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna, is the worship of his paraphernalia, the pure devotee of the Lord. So here we are. Prabhupada came to the West to plant this Krishna consciousness in Western countries. This is a knowledge that was only circumscribed in India. But Prabhupada received instruction from his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that when you have money, print the books in English and spread this Krishna consciousness in the West. Go to the West. Traditionally, even sages, they are afraid of crossing the ocean to come to the West because this other part of the world is a world of militias. And it's considered that when you come here, you may fall down. You become entangled in sinful activities. But Prabhupada took the risk, and he came to establish this Bhagavad Dharma in the West. And that is why even people like us, we have a chance now to hear about the Gita, about Bhagavad Mahatmya, Gita Mahatmya, the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita. So this is all the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So the question is, who is it? Why is it that some people are worshiping Krishna and some people are not? Answer is given by Lord Brahma himself. Those who are not worshiping Krishna, They are considered. They are so blinded with sinful reactions. They are covered over with the blood of sinful reactions that is considered, they are butchers. They're killing their own souls. Because Lord Krishna is the only person who is responsible for the liberation of the conditioned soul from the shackles of samsara, repeated birth and death. Well, we may feel happy. Now, well, there's nothing wrong with repeated birth and death. I hear you. But consider how many months the fetus is locked up in a womb, a dark well, floating in amnion fluids. So if the mother eats some spicy food, the child is affected. The mother is a drunkard, takes some hot drinks, the child is affected. Is that a very good place? I don't think so. An intelligent person knows that it's not a good place. So it's like someone who is put in isolation. And then the whole place, the room where you are isolated is full with blood and mucus and stool. That's exactly what we passed through for 8 or 9 months. And we've forgotten that. So the idea of the Bhagavad Mahatmya is this, the recap of these very glorifications of Lord Krishna that bring about a motivation of the jiva to embark on the worship of Lord Krishna, so that we can become ultimately extricated from these shackles of repeated birth and death. And so we have a very great opportunity in this material world, in our material existence, because we are exposed to the worship of the Lord. Because the sages, people like Nada Muni, Sukadev Goswami, Sutta Goswami, they are glorifying the Lord and his devotees in the Bhagavad Mahatmya. And these glorifications are meant to attract us to the Lord, because if we hear about someone's wealth, someone's opulences, that is an impetus for attraction. If we see somebody, we don't know their background, there's no so much of impetus for attraction. And so all of this background information of the Lord, they are meant to create impetuses for attraction to the Lord, so that we can also become serious in our devotional culture. And at the end of this very lifetime, be able to have the sidelong glances of their lordship, Sisi Radha Govinda. So I have some comments or some points, some questions on this point.
My humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Maharaj, wonderful, wonderful class. One question that I have is, you said, who is qualified to worship Krishna? And those people who are obviously free of sinful reactions. But what about those people who say that they worship Krishna, but it's not to in a proper way, right? There's those 4 types of people who go to Krishna. That's obviously, it's not anya bhilashita shunyam. They don't have that. It's like mixed devotion. So in those instances, how do you help someone come out of that to have this, no motivational, non-motivational bhakti to Krishna?
Thank you. That's a very nice It's a very nice question, because yes, people worship Krishna, and some people, they may even worship Krishna for years. We may even worship Krishna for years, for decades. But then the worship is mixed with jnana, uh, mystic power, desire for mystic power, or something. So, in other words, it's not pure worship of the Lord. But the point is, Krishna, according to Krishna, it doesn't matter. Krishna said, Akarma sarva kama va moksha kama dharati tifrina bhakti yogina. So when you're full of desires, you're free from all desires, come to me. Hey, come to me. Why? Why? Because Krishna will purify us. We may serve with material intentions, but as we serve, we go on. I mean, look at the case of Dhruva. Dhruva went to perform his austerities and meditation with the intent of having a kingdom greater than that of even his grandfather. But then when he embarked on his austerities, and when he became purified, Vishnu appeared to him and asked, what do you want? He said, I was looking for broken bottles. Right now, I don't need any, I don't want anything. So this is the power of devotion. In the initial stage, I remember when I just joined, the early time we joined, we go out on Sankirtan, and sometimes we meet people come to us, and then they say, I have this problem, my girlfriend ran away, or my husband ran away, or this happened, and that happened. Can you help me bring him back? For me, I remember when I just joined, and when I got on Sankirtan and made this type of situation, I get really very upset. But no, we don't need to be upset. We need to find ways to encourage such people to take to the process of devotional service. And with time, they will be purified. Krishna is all purifying personality of God. It's like fire. Anything that gets close to fire becomes burnt. If you put anything into fire, it gets burnt. Even an iron, you put into fire, at some point in time, it starts melting. This is the power of devotional service. So we should not discriminate against people who have some type of anatas or have some material desires, but we should find ways to encourage and motivate such people to continue serving, because Krishna does the magic. Krishna will change. And so the case of Dhruva is a typical example. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Maharaj. That's really helpful. But in addition to that, I was just again thinking about how you said two questions. So one is, for Dhruva Maharaj, he really did perform the true devotional service. Even though he had this materialistic desire, he did worship him truly, the Lord truly. And then that's one question. So that's why I feel that he may have received that. So what if someone is not really truly worshiping the Lord with these materialistic desires, right? Because he was very intense in his tapasya because he wanted it so badly. Not everyone can feel in that situation. So they're thinking that they're doing, some worship in very, menial way or something.
Yeah.
But does it still happen? And then my second question is, you said the impetus, right? There has to be the impetus to worship, right? So sometimes, I was just thinking about this, and please correct me if I'm incorrect. If we are, because we see that chanting has many of the additional benefit that just comes with it, right, as part of it. So when we try to motivate people to chant because of these additional things, because they're materialistic and you want them to chant, and then we know that Krishna will take care of them eventually. So in those instances, like, is it okay to make them, or tell them that chant and you'll feel this and these good things or whatever come your way, whatever. And yes, you're trying to put them in the mixed devotional service, but then at the same time, I'm afraid, like, would they be committing any kind of offenses to the holy name, right? With those 10 offenses. So they don't know about that. But when we want to just try to give them the impetus to chant, so how does, this is like a whole loop. I just get confused about, like, how do you?
All right, thank you. Let's go with your last question.
Okay, thank you.
Now, it's like you have a child and you tell them to chant Hare Krishna and be happy. And then the child tells you, like in a typical American child, a child born here, you tell them to chant and be happy. So here is his response or her response, hey, Mom, I'm happy.
Right.
So children, the parents actually have been traveling around the world, and practically in all the continents I've been to, this same problem. Parents really get frustrated with their children when they come up with those response that, I'm happy. Okay, then you say, we are prisoners. We have to, perform devotional service so that, we go back to God. Even in Michigan,
right.
somebody was telling me, and they were trying to preach to someone. So one devotee's brother came to their community and they were trying to preach to him. And he's a well-established person. And they were trying to preach to him. And then with all this concept of, chant and be happy, he said, I'm happy. And so they were like, put on a crossroad. So if your child tells you that, Mom, I'm happy, I don't need to chant. So this could be very frustrating because, you have good intentions for the child. But then you see what happens is that every child wants to improve, continue to improve on their grades in school. So if you have that understanding of the science-based evidence of the benefits of chanting, which are not per se the goal of the chanting, they are just concomitant factors or positive side effects. And so if you have an understanding in regards to how the chanting enhances academic performance, you can easily convince your child to chant, based on that. But what you're saying is the truth. It's not that, you are just speculating or doing something that is inappropriate. You're saying the truth, but because the child wants to understand what is in there for me. What if I'm doing something, what am I going to get? What is the benefit?
Exactly.
If you're talking about next life, they don't care.
Right.
So it's not offensive to the holy name because there are research findings that these concomitant factors regarding the benefits regarding the scientific-based evidence of the benefits or the positive side effects of the chanting, they're real. They conducted some researches and they're real.
Right.
So before we get to that point of Krishna Prema Pumata Mahan, these are some of the things we attain. So it becomes easy for the child to really tailor towards the parents or the mom's proposition that they should chant, because every child wants to keep improving on their grades. So that is not offense at all, because it is it is true, and the side effects are true. And so, but then if they chant, they become purified. And at some point, when they become purified enough, they forget even about their idea of higher grades, the purpose of their chanting, and they want to go further to be able to attain love for Krishna. But then they already have that material that material desire fulfilled also.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah, it's a game of, it's a win-win game for Krishna
Right.
individual. And then,
Yeah.
what's the first point you mentioned?
The other question, the first question was like how Dhruv Maharaj, he had intense, desire of getting that kingdom, greater than his grandfather. So he intensely did the tapasya.
Uh-huh.
So sometimes that may not be, what everyone may be doing. So
Uh,
they may have this desires, but they're not really. So Dhruv Maharaj's, intentions were very strong. So he performed strong tapasya, which is why he got purified.
mhm.
But not, everyone can be doing it at that level.
Uh-huh.
So in those instances, like how will someone's, I guess their intentions and everything bhakti develop truly like how Dhruv Maharajas did?
Okay, that's another very good point. Now, you keep in mind that Dhruva Maharaj, the mantra he was chanting was not necessarily the Hare Krishna Maha mantra, but
Right,
he was chanting Vishnu's names. He was
right,
chanting
right.
Krishna's names.
Mhm,
And in this age, the prescribed process of becoming self-realized is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha mantra.
mhm,
So and we are not advised to go into those type of austerities. Dhruva perform austerities such that even the demigods, Lord Brahma, the demigods were becoming choked. They couldn't breathe anymore. They
mhm,
were having difficulty in breathing because of Dhruva's austerities. And that is why they approached Lord Brahma. Hey, do something about it. Do something about it. And so that was not in the age of Kali. In the age of Kali, those severe austerities are not recommended. The recommended process of self-realization is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And so anybody who takes to the process of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra will have their spiritual uh, goals reinforced, and they will ultimately be able to attain the supreme goal, the ultimate goal, which is Krishna Prema Purmata Maha. And so the austerities that are performed in previous ages, like sages, they go to the bed of the sea to perform austerities for thousands of years. We are not blessed. We don't have that opportunity or that privilege of having to live for thousands of years, and we don't have that type of internal stamina, that emotional courage to be able to embark on social studies because our bodies are not suited for that. And so, Lord Krishna had arranged that, considering our predicaments, we have this very process. Lord Chaitanya inaugurated this Sankirtan movement that anybody who takes to this movement will still get Krishna Prema. So big austerities are not required. And anything that we do is to help us to come to the platform where we can chant the holy names of the Lord. And if someone is chanting, whether they are chanting offensively, they are chanting offenselessly, ultimately they get to that point of the clearing stage, the ruchi, the baba, and prema. That's how powerful this process is.
mhm. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maharaj. That's really helpful.
You're
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
welcome. Any other comments or questions? All right. Okay, Mohan, yeah.
Maharaj, if you have time, I have one question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, Maharaj. So I'm just thinking about devotional service. Fortunately, I came to devotional service by mercy of devotees and whatnot. But if I observe my life, my devotional life, I see that in some phases of my devotional life, there's favorable winds. And in some phases of my devotional life, there's unfavorable winds. And based on that, at least I myself kind of tone down my devotional activity to address, to balance both spiritual and material lives, right? So in situations like that, is that seen as a decline in devotional service? Is it expected that we just keep going steadily upwards? or this going up and down, trying to adjust to favorable and unfavorable circumstances? How can one see that, or how should one introspect that in terms of their progress in devotional life?
Well, thank you, Mohan Prabhu. Let's see, in our devotional practices, yes, we experience ups and downs. The graph doesn't go straight. We go like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. And as much as we keep to the standard, say we chant 16 rounds, 4 equal to principles, the other things we do to enhance or speed up our process may not be favorable. We may not be favorably disposed to the quality of our sadhana in most cases, all the time. So, for instance, someone is chanting, say, is chanting 32 rounds. Or someone is doing many, many services. Someone is waking up very early to chant their round before going to work, before going to school. Now, there are some days that they feel very weak and they are not able to do that. And ordinarily speaking, they will feel bad because they want their graph to go straight up like this. And so here is a situation that we are conditioned by these bodies. And so the bodies and the sensible modalities of the mind, they force us to act in certain ways. And therefore, sometimes we have very good intentions and we are not able to act based on our good intentions. So yes, we have this spiraling of our sadhana. The graph does not go straight in most cases, but we follow, as long as we are following the minimum standard required, chanting 16 rounds, following 4 regulative principles, we should just keep on moving on because the purification is going on. And with time, we will become stabilized and do what is most desirable for our spiritual devotional sustainability. Initial stage, it's like people complain, some people complain a lot. I've been chanting for 1 decade, 2 decades, my mind still wanders here and there. We tell them, don't worry. You keep chanting. Wherever the mind wanders to, Lord Krishna says we should drag the mind back and let the mind sit with you to hear the holiness. With time, the purification facilitates that situation where you don't experience those type of distractions from the mind. So yeah, even the unsteady graphic situation of devotional practices, that should not give us any distraction. And we should understand that this is part of the bombardment, part of the outcome of the bombardments of the gunas and other external and internal factors that are militating against our steady devotional input. So we shouldn't be worried. And that is why we do know the minimum standard, especially those who are initiated. They have to follow 4 regulative principles and they have to chant a minimum of 16 rounds. But most devotees, they don't just do that. They go the extra mile to do more rounds, do more services, and take up different responsibilities here and there. And they will have to deal with the balance, the work, life, devotional balance. Because we are living in a material world, we have families, and we live in a society where our attention is also demanded. And so, yes, we can only pave through by making some adjustments. Because if we say, for instance, someone has been chanting and focus rounds, and when they get married, I remember the case of one girl in Govardhan. We went to Govardhan, and one of the teachers, the wife, you know, we gave some talk there, and then the wife, after the class, she came to me to ask that, what is going on with my life? When I was a brahmachari, this was what I was doing, this was what I was doing, this was what I was doing. And now I'm not able to do all of those things. Yes, the chanting I'm doing is 16 round, but I'm not able to do all of these other things. So she's asking why. I said, see, that time you were just by yourself. By yourself, you and Krishna. But now you're taking up a responsibility for the life of others, the life of your spouse, the life of your children. And so you have to be able to integrate all of this, your family maintenance, family leadership, family culture, your devotional sadhana, and if you're walking your walk. So it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same. And therefore, we should understand that we are trying our best, and Krishna is also helping us to do the needful to sustain our core devotional values and pave through in our efforts to help other people to grow in their devotional life. This is most important to Krishna. Individuals simply trying to become salvationists, that's not a big deal. Anyone can be a salvationist to focus on themselves, chant 108 rounds every day, and not care about what is happening around them in the community. But no, we are not salvationists. We are concerned about the world. We are concerned about our communities. We are concerned about our families. And therefore, we make ourselves available for the sustainability of our environment, of our communities, of our families. That takes our time, and it's a big austerity. So Krishna helps us with all of the facilities to be able to pave through despite all of these challenges. So yeah, we should not be worried. We should just pave through how we are going and strategize on how to improve on the quality and quantity of our devotional practice.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much, Maharaj. This is very helpful.
You're very welcome. All right. It's almost 8:30, 8:29. So if there's no other comment or questions, I would beg for the adjournment of this meeting.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Okay, that's the support, yeah. All right, thank you everyone for coming again. And we will now adjourn this meeting. And we'll see you later today.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Bye.